I love that intro. I really do. I really do. Welcome one and all to Hard Lens Media. We got a huge show today to our Can TV audience. If you want to watch our rest of our show in entirety, please subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us, and join us on Rumble or Rockfin, Odyssey, or Kick. Hard Lens Media. We're live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central on all 5 of those video streaming platforms. But today, we're starting our show off on a high good note because it's going to be cheerful because the rest of the episodes, it's going to be up and down with politics, disappointment, laughter, cringe, anger, and so much more. So at least let's start off our Fridays right and righteously angry, well, at least righteously happy right now. Because for those of you who don't know, I am a fan of wrestling. And yes, there are things that I like to do so I can turn my brain off and ignore the neoliberal nightmare that we are in. And I've had the privilege and outstanding opportunity to make a new friend, especially when our channel really got hit hard. And because of this new friendship, I was actually able to be on their podcast show talking about wrestling, talking about all sorts of fun things. And since then, I could take a step back and say, wow, just how quick their channel has grown. You might know her as Miss Witchy Perfect, but she's also here on the show, joining me live and direct. Welcome. I just wanted to say this. For those of you who don't know, you have been a very kind voice in which I could speak to. I know there's been a lot of people. Shout out to the moderators. Shout out to all of our allies in independent media. But I just wanted to say this. Thank you for your kind words of support and encouragement, especially helping us out. And I just want to say just how proud I am of during that time and now how far your channel has grown in such a short time when it was at like 100 subscribers. So first, you know what? Wait, I'm being rude here. First, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you're about, your channel, and all the good stuff. Take it away. The floor is yours.
Okay, well, hello everyone. As everyone knows me as Mrs. Witchy Perfect. I just recently told everyone what my real name was, which is Steph. Just call me Steph. Steph, yes. I have literally been a fan of wrestling since I was 4 years old when I went to my aunt's house and she had the WrestleMania 7 pay-per-view on, and the only thing I remember is the Liz and Randy getting back together. But I was on and off with wrestling, and it's been remarkable how, and I've been so overwhelmingly happy of all the outpour of support. And the official count last time I checked was 4677. So completely overwhelmed, guys. And I do have some new things in the work. Actually, my name is STEPH. So not with the F.
Okay. Now, yeah, no was the F. But
yeah.
First of all, because this has been fantastic because I've been like shocked at just how fast the channel's grown since then. But before I think anything, what was it at originally? Because by the way, you did have a number was 466. So Mark of the Beast 666.
The power of the beast. Yeah, we watch too much Dude Dissidents, but I love those guys. So shout out to Dude Dissidents. I love you guys. And the reason I wanted to support you, Kit, is because we need more voices like you. If it wasn't for Jimmy Dore, I wouldn't have found you. You were on his show a couple times. I loved how you talked about politics. So I was just like, I'm going to check him out. And then, of course, you're very addicting, Kit. It's all your fault.
I'm like a nice morning cup of coffee in which you could enjoy the day. So there you go. So
if I liked coffee, I don't like coffee
or tea or any other kind of delicious beverage. So there you go. There you go.
How about milk?
Hey, milk. It does a body good. Got milk. So now that you've been working on this podcast and collaborating and doing more, it's one thing for people to say, well, why do you want to talk about wrestling? Wrestling has changed, or wrestling is, I don't know. There are some people saying that it's past its glory, and I think first of all, wrestling has survived many aspects of society evolving and changing, because for those people who don't know, wrestling can trace its origin to the traveling carnival circus. I mean, that's what's fascinating. I just want to get your your thoughts on just people who are just being dismissive of it, because I think it's important we do talk about, because it is a cultural phenomenon.
Well, and that's what everyone talks about, that it's lasted for as long as it has. So you can trace, yeah, like you said, you can trace it back to the circuses. And before Vince got a hold of it, Vince McMahon, of course, they were doing, wrestling in high school gyms, and I would say this was even maybe before the territories, or like during the territories, they were doing a lot of wrestling in, high school gyms. And I mean, that's before Vince took it national. Now I will give Vince McMahon, I will give the devil his due.
Oh
He
boy.
took it out of high school wrestling gyms and made it national. And, that, kudos to him. Okay. And it's just that, but the thing is, everyone had their own individual territory. And then Vince just wanted to, he gathered all the promoters together, as everyone knows, and said, I want your territory, give it to me. And they were all like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So, and that's putting it nicely. Some of them were not that very nice.
Yeah.
But and then eventually he said, okay, well, I'm going to get your talent. If you won't give me your territory, I'm going to get your talent.
Yeah.
So, and that's what he did. And then a lot of the territories would, unfortunately go out of business, or fortunately, depends on the territory really. But, there were little territories all around. And then of course, Vince bought them all off.
I'm wondering, is that map still around, or I'm pretty sure we could find it online, but originally what all the territories used to look like back in the day?
Yeah, you
Because
can Google it.
yeah, exactly. Well, just don't use the Google AI. But all right, off subject though. But because again, I guess you did bring up Vince, and I don't want to talk too much about Vince, but he did pretty much change the face of wrestling. I mean, I would say first his grandfather and his old man did, and then Vince is the one who turned it up to 11.
Right. So, I was kind of watching something with Greg Gagne, who is an AWA guy. His father owned AWA, and Kurt was in that. So also Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude and Scott Norton, Greg Gagne, Jim Brunzell, those are all Minnesota guys, and they all came from that high school, the Robbinsdale High.
Right.
So, I mean, you're talking about a group of guys who literally came from the same state, pretty much the same town, and, ripped it up in wrestling. So, not to put a pun there, but, yeah. So a bunch of guys had come from that Minnesota territory, which was based out of Minneapolis and St. Paul, because again, they're twin cities. And Greg was talking about, how, there's just a lot of issues there with how everything went down. But I mean, they did the best they could with what they had. So
yeah, true. And what a lot of people don't remember though, because I think the reason why people have said why wrestling no longer has that kick anymore is because I think we are the last generation to remember the Monday Night Wars and how much of a cultural impact that was, because you had WCW Nitro and WCW, which was the remnants of Southern Wrestling Organization, which
NWA,
NWA, and then of course you had Ted Turner, Billionaire Ted, the billionaire, get involved and turning WCW into the rival for the WWF, and to another extent, my personal favorite, the love child of destruction, ECW, which is the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Sorry,
okay,
Brett.
Okay, Brett. It wasn't perfect.
I think ECW was a little engine that could. So there you go. But I know I answered that question, like how did I find out about ECW? It's just one day I was just flipping the channels, like, whoa, you could do all that. You could hit a guy with a barbed wire, and then you have New Jack. But I could sit here all day talking about
the Sandman. They're going to do a Dark Side of the Ring of him, actually.
They are?
Or they're doing a documentary. It's either a documentary, I think it's a Dark Side of the Ring. Yeah.
Really?
They just announced that on Jim Cornette's podcast. I was just listening to that yesterday because I have to sort of I have to because we're going to talk about the Elimination Chamber on
Mm.
Saturday with me and Angel. So Saturday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, me and Angel Pro Wrestling Talk live show.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so when it comes down to even talking about like Dark Side of the Ring, because I know there's a lot of because everyone says that wrestling's fake. You know, people say that, and there was recently a video that went live where some Australian journalist was talking to a recent WWE talent saying wrestling's fake. It's not, man. They put their bodies on the line. The show is scripted. I mean, do you really think Stephanie McMahon is going to get tied to a cross and get forced married to Undertaker? Like, no, that's not. Everybody should have been able to see that. Or Hulkamania when the giant comes in and rips off his cross, and apparently he's sort of bleeding, and Roddy Piper says, "You're bleeding. You're bleeding. Come, let's go." Like, we know the story, but the injuries and what they go through, that's freaking real. Can you like explain to people, because like I really don't like when people say that it's fake. It's a story.
It's a story, and these guys make up their own gimmicks or their own characters. I mean, because, and I say even on my show, I mean, Mr. Perfect is no one is a gimmick. It's a gimmick character. That's not who Kurt Hennig is. Kurt Hennig is someone different. He is himself. He may have traits like Mr. Perfect because he was cool, but by no means was Kurt Hennig pompous and, arrogant and full of himself. He was just cool. That's what Kurt brought to the table. But, and I don't like when they say it's fake either, because honestly, I can't see it. Now, I do watch Stevie Richards, his little YouTube channel, where he actually breaks down the moves and talks about them like he did Kurt's knee lift. I would love him to do the the running snapmare that Kurt does. That looks like fun. But the injuries are real. I was just watching an interview with Sean Mooney. Sean Mooney's still around.
He is?
Yeah, he was one of, he would do those event centers, and he wouldn't do the face-to-face, but he did the event centers. And he said, a lot of these guys, they're working 6 days a week. They gotta, first of all, they gotta travel, get on a plane, mostly. In the territories, they were usually in cars, so they were driving everywhere.
I couldn't do that. I think I go crazy, especially in the early days. My God.
Yeah. And when you get to where you're going, you got to find a hotel. You got to find a gym. You got to eat. You got to find somewhere to sleep. You got to do interviews and promos and stuff. So, I mean, these guys, they put themselves through a lot. And, he was talking about the kids of the wrestlers. Wish that their parents were hurt so they could be, everyone at school's like, "Oh, your dad is a wrestler. Oh, you're so lucky." And you're like, "No, because I wish I was with my dad or mom or whatever."
Yeah, there's always a price. And I think when we look at that, there's so much stories to tell, which is why I'm really happy for your channel to be growing as it is. And for those of you who don't know, like, look, I think your original channel was like at 100 subscribers, or maybe at 50 subscribers at one point. And during this 4-week, since January and up until now, you have exploded in subscribers, like 4,600. And I think you're going to get 680 pretty soon. So, how do you feel about that?
Current count is 4,686.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you that your channel's growing. And for those who don't know, like, here we go. Here's where you could find it. I was recently on her show as well, and I think this is just a fantastic sign of just the great, because we're all in this era of gloom and doom and World War III. But I think it's important for us to, I don't know, occasionally have that moment of decompressing and relaxing just a little bit before the whole madness takes over. So what I want to ask you is, when it comes down to talking about these stories, is there ever a moment where you like are talking about an event or a situation, and you got to put down your notes and be like, Jesus, I wasn't expecting all this drama or this kind of stuff here, because there's so much to talk about in regards to production, how shows are run, or what personal the talent goes through, or either that stuff behind the scenes, because there's things that even I'm like taken back for, like, wow, that's pretty creative, or oh my god, that's horrifically tragic.
So yeah, eventually I will talk about Kurt's last match, which
Oh,
was completely stupid and it didn't do him justice. It was an axe on a pole match with David Flair of all freaking people. Sorry,
woo!
I do not like his father. I hate Ric Flair. Never did, never will. I wanted to say something real quick.
Mhm.
If we could go back to the whole territories.
Oh yeah, go ahead, go
I
ahead.
just recently found out from Greg Gagne that they didn't have contracts back then. That was kind of a new thing. So that was kind of something that I think Vince also sort of invented, Vince Jr. Because Vince Sr. would just give you a handshake. It was always just a handshake. It was a verbal
Right. Oh yeah.
contract and a handshake. So that was, and he said when Vince started buying up the talent for AWA and they started going away, that's when they started writing stuff down and actually had real contracts
Okay.
where they would guarantee money to guys. So
So, now see, the thing is, when because I do want to get back to the question of, is there like any kind of stuff like where you are talking about, because or like behind the scenes, like stuff that's like,
yeah.
wow, that's incredible, because I want to get back to that, but real quick, because I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you ever think, like, with all these contracts, that was also a way for Vince and either that even WCW or ECW to really like control things or manipulate things behind the scenes, because we all know about the infamous Montreal screw job, and a few days ago I recently watched a couple different takes on how it was done. And you know what? At this point, like, I really feel for Bret Hart.
Mhm.
And then also on the other side too, I'm understanding where Vince was coming from. And I know Vince is a piece of shite altogether, literally. But it's like, I'm just wondering, like, holy cow, if they just did a real sit down and just talk. Because I understood Vince's concern about, oh, I don't want the WWF title to go in a trash can, like what happened to the women's WWF title
Right, with
live on
Medusa.
air on WCW, which was,
Right.
holy cow, Medusa, what the hell?
Yeah, so and that's a good topic to bring up because there's a lot of stories, a lot of people have taken credit for that or taken the blame for it. But when I actually started listening to Jim Cornette, I was actually shocked because he was very embarrassed. I mean, he just said, gosh darn it, Vince, it's your belt, double cross him.
Yeah.
Really, the screw job just came because people named it that. It was actually called a double cross, and it's been done in wrestling many, 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 many times before it. So, but this was more of a scandalous double cross because Brett wasn't expecting it and knew right away, as Angel will tell you, he knew right away. If you ever seen Hitman Wrestling with Shadows, as I
Mhm.
have, he said, I knew the minute the bell rung, he screwed me. So it was kind of like Brett saying, this is a screw job, but it was really a double cross.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've heard all the thing there is to think about when they were doing they were doing a documentary on Bret Hart while that was going on. So they had like Bret wired up and he was having a meeting with Vince, and that was technically a no-no. You shouldn't have done that, but I see why Bret did it, and I see it from all sides too.
Mhm.
It's something that Angel and I are probably going to talk about. I'm not sure when. We do have a guest for this Saturday, so I don't know if we are going to talk about the Montreal School Job or what we're going to talk about, but we definitely will get to that because it is. I could sit here for 2 hours and talk about the Montreal Screw Job.
Oh,
Um,
who hasn't?
right,
Who
right,
hasn't at this point? Because there's
right.
so much in it to where even I could see like both sides. But as you mentioned before, that's not the first time there was behind the scenes drama for any talent, especially when WCW was a real contender for WWF back before any of the, I guess, financial situations that took WCW under, especially when Turner was bought out by AOL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
yeah, there you go. I'm not senile yet. I'm not senile yet. I'm not senile yet. It's not happening yet. It's gonna happen soon, but not today. So,
Not today.
so when you're doing research for your series, when you're coming up with topics, because like for a lot of content creators, we have to do notes, we have to read articles. We're putting like 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, give or take a day. Because every single week, you got to put some stuff in there as you're prepping up for the show, or whatever you have to do. But are there moments where you're just putting down the notepads and like, okay, I wasn't prepared for this, or wow, that's so exciting, and I'm not gonna have enough paper or enough time to type all this stuff down. I want to get your thoughts on that.
I think it would be what's come out about Vince recently, and
Oh,
also the recent
yes.
Billy Jack Haynes. I actually have some updates that I will update everybody on my show with Angel. So Pro Wrestling Talk, 8 p.m. Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's totally blown me away. I'm just like, I can't, because I know I've seen the matches with Billy Jack Haynes and Kurt Hennig in Portland, and it's just it blows my mind that that could even happen. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like that people could, or even the Chris Benoit thing back when it happened, I was completely blown away by it. And I don't talk about Chris very much because we will do some matches and I may get backlash for it. But guys, I'm not going to stop watching Kurt Hennig matches just because they have Chris Benoit in them.
Yeah.
That was one thing. Like Brian Last is like, I don't watch Chris Benoit matches. I'm like, I. The
You
thing is,
kind of
I like Kurt. I just watch for Kurt. I don't even care about Chris Benoit.
well, the thing is, like, okay, so for those you don't know, and I'm going to be very careful with YouTube, but there was an unfortunate
Mhm.
situation in which lives were lost, self-deletion took place, and it forever left a mark in the wrestling community. However, when it comes down to touchy subjects like this, the whole idea of because what you're talking about, especially in the world of wrestling, like there's a treasure trove of things to talk about, from
Mhm.
story wise, characters, the personal battles that individuals go through, or behind the scenes stuff, or is it at how things got started. Everything is on the table to talk about. And when it comes down to even some of the wrestlers like Chris Benoit or others who have done illegal things, horrific things, like
That's
it's
why they have
important.
Dark Side of the Ring.
It is important to talk about, and I don't think anyone should get canceled. Be like, how dare you address it? Well, it's part of the community. You just can't dismiss it and say it didn't exist or missing clip here. Like, you have to talk about it and the significance of it. And I think with the proper maturity and people really giving the respect to it, and those that understand the severity of any kind of situation, not just with Chris
Yeah.
Benoit, but or anybody else. Because even this thing with Vince McMahon, I don't want to be talking about him too much, but you got to talk about it, because whether people like it or not, Vince McMahon, he is a name in wrestling. Now his name is forever tarnished, and the legacy of the McMahons is forever tarnished too. But you do have to talk about it, because it is something that is part of the overall culture and content in the world of wrestling. And yes, it's always important for people to move on, but you have to address things and speak about it. And do you ever find like a moment where you are like, should I do this, or should I just scrap that idea? Like, are there moments where like you have to just like ball up the piece of paper and like, all right, maybe I
Yeah,
shouldn't.
yeah, because recently I tried to promote my first episode Pro Wrestling Talk with Angel, and something we said, I guess we were talking about the Billy Jack Haynes thing, and unfortunately they said it was limited promotion wise, and I was just like, why? I mean, we don't go into detail too much. And we tried to be so careful, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to edit that, but I've had to edit my things. I couldn't even say the word Trump or Trump Plaza.
The next
Or
time that happens, to your channel, or you get hit by, please message me or send me a screenshot of that, because there's ways of walking around and dealing with that. Because
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's a real place. It was 33 years ago, for heaven's
mhm.
sake. And I was just talking about WrestleMania 5 because my favorite wrestler, Kurt Hennig, or Mr. Perfect, was against you know, the Blue Blazer, who was Owen Hart.
Mhm.
So that's very difficult for me to take that kind of stuff out because it's the truth.
The next
Trump
time
was
that
at,
happens, yeah, next time that
yeah,
happens, you please reach out to me because I've helped out RBN and Do Dissidents and INN when they had some problems with YouTube. So there's ways to word and deal with that because that really should not have happened. And sometimes that's the AI just or something with the YouTube system acting stupid. And
yeah,
I
because
know
I
all
mean,
about
it
stupid
promoted
stuff.
it the whole time. Like it promoted it. I dropped it on Sunday, and it promoted it all that time with no limitation, and then all of a sudden it just said active but limited, and I was like, well, it doesn't matter what topic it is, it's wrestling. I
Mm.
mean, like I said, that's why we have Dark Side of the Ring, and I wonder sometimes if their stuff ever gets non-promoted, because they talk about all the dark stuff about wrestling. It happens, guys. They're humans, you know.
I think that they're more protected because since WWE or anything that they would post
Right.
on their social media, because they're a corporation, they probably have a little bit more of a privilege and treated like royalty. But speaking no, hold on, I don't want to cut you off. But speaking of like royalty, too, you're a fan of Kurt Hennig. Why is that? You're saying that he's Mr. Perfect.
He
Well,
is
I'm a fan
perfect.
of Rob Van Dam. And let's not forget the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Ah,
Woo!
that, 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 that. No. Yeah, so uh when I was about 6 years old,
Mm.
I we had old VHS tapes. For those younger viewers, you don't know what those are. You'll never know the difficulties of VHSs and VCRs. Um my dad had several recorded on a VHS tape. So SummerSlam or WrestleMania 6, SummerSlam 1990, Survivor Series 1990, etc. I was 6 years old, put one of those in one time because I had seen wrestling before and I just kind of wanted to check it out. And I saw the match between Kerry Von Erich and Kurt Hennig, or Mr. Perfect. And I fell in love with Kurt's wrestling. I loved exactly everything he did. So I wanted to learn everything I could about the man. He's second generation, which means his father, Larry the Axe Hennig, was also a wrestler. He was very well schooled in the business of wrestling because he grew up with it. And I saw a comment earlier about Kerry had a prosthetic foot. That is true. I found that out recently,
Mm.
several months ago, that he showered with his boots on. And I dare anybody to go look at that match with him and Mr. Perfect. Tell me he has a prosthetic foot. I can't see it. I can't tell. You can't tell because
Wow.
Kerry he used it so well. So and he was a Von Erich. He was also second generation. So I think that's why that match gets a lot of praise, and it should, because there's two second generation stars. And I just did SummerSlam 91, which was Brett versus Kurt. So
Hmm.
I actually got through the match going, ooh, because if you as a fan of Kurt Hennig, if you didn't know Kurt had messed up his back
Oh
right
God,
before SummerSlam.
God, I don't even
um
think about it.
Right, and his little, they had a because of Greg Gagne, they
Yeah.
had a, documentary on Mr. Perfect, and they had Brett on it, and Brett said, yeah, his back was out really bad. And if you talk to Kurt, he would even tell you too, because at the end of when this episode drops in March, mid-March, probably the end of March, um, you will hear, Brett's comments about Kurt, and then also Kurt's comments about Brett. I
Mm.
did put those in there for bonus content because I think you need to hear what they actually said about each other.
Hmm.
And I love that they were second generation. But getting back to Kerry and Kurt, again, they both were second generation. Kerry obviously came from the Von Erichs, so the what they call the curse of the Von Erichs.
Mm.
And then of course, I did the episode because the Von Erich movie came out. Iron Claw, the Iron Claw. Kerry had an Iron Claw, and it was pretty cool of a move. You just had to pretend like you were crushing the guy's head, kind of like Crush would do later. Um But I wanted to do that, and it's because I fell in love with that match because they were consummate professionals. Kurt was a big ribber. Everybody knows that. You can go and check out my episode 14, I believe, is my compilation of ribs that Kurt did. I thought they were hilarious. You know, just hearing some of them, I'm like, darn it, I wish I could have been there for that one. But I fell in love with Kurt because of his personality. All the interviews I've seen, everybody who talks about Kurt says that that dude was a stand-up guy. Outside of the ring, he was a great father. He was, you know, he never missed a child's birth. He had 4 children, and he was a great dad. I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw on X there was a Hank Hennig page. I don't know if it's the real one or not. I'd hope it is, but I saw it in the little bio section. There was my dad is my hero. Well, yeah, and he should be. He's my hero too. He made me want to, you know, be better at school so I wouldn't end up a victim of my mother, who I'm a survivor of abuse. So that's all I'll say on that. But you know, he made me want to be I seen in the Hitman Wrestling with Shadows, this one girl said, you know, I got my butt in school because of Bret Hart. Well, I busted my butt in school because of Kurt Hennig. Because that dude made me want to be a better person, made me want to be you know, I wanted to prove my mom wrong, and it's because of Kurt.
That's fantastic. And since then, now you have really been doing well. You are also collaborating with INN News. And I want you to give a shout out, because you wanted to give a shout out to a lot of people here, and you want to give some promos here. So as a final note, the floor is yours. Tell people what's going on. You want to give a shout out to Charlie Brown Politics, Angel, and there's a few other things that you're working on. So I want to give the floor is yours, and I want to make sure too, where I can show where people can follow you online and on social media, because I think that's important. So take it away.
Okay, well, like I said, Saturday we have a live show. It's called Pro Wrestling Talk. We're on episode 2. We just started. Angel and I just started this last week. Very excited for that. Like I said, we do have a guest lined up. We were talking to him on X, so I'm not sure exactly. Oh, thank you, Dwayne. I love you too. And the other No Blood too. I love you. Thank you. And yeah, I love Angel. He had said before he was going to approach me and actually talk to me about, you know, doing a show. If you go on my Rumble page here that Kit has up, you actually get a special theme song that I did myself. I took clips of Kurt's WWF promos. There's also another one I did where it's more of his wrestling. And then whenever we talk about WCW, I will put a theme song on from his Rap is Crap, because I actually put a video compilation of that too. So stay tuned for that. And like I said, there's a little blurb there, but so a Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, me and Angel Pro Wrestling Talk episode 2. We do have a special guest. I'm not sure what we're talking about yet, but we'll announce that when it gets a little closer. I do have a gentleman called Grass Fire, who I also kind of found over X, who turns out he's a wrestling fan, and he is also, I believe he's pagan. So we have some things in the works coming up.
Fantastic.
I'm going to announce right now, right here, right now. By the way, Charlie Brown, I love you guys. He's great with politics. He's just like Kit. He is like the number one guy. He's been supporting me. He supports me on Patreon. If you can go to my Patreon, please, you know, support me for as low as $1 a month, like Charlie Brown does. I mean, Charlie Brown is awesome. He talks about politics. He gets it right. He's just like Kit. And I love you, Charlie.
I actually saw a recent show. I think I saw a recent show in which Charlie was hosting. He was on RBN, and he also did something for Indie News. And Charlie, hey, listen, buddy, you were a little harsh on yourself. Like, hey, I'm just starting. You're doing just fine. And just like I'm telling Miss Witchy Perfect, Steph herself, look, start off small, don't overtech, go at a good slow pace, and things will go good for you. But I encourage that for anyone who gets involved in social media. Now's the time to make your mistakes and have fun. but I have to say I am very proud of just how far your channel has come and the huge amount of growth from January up until now. Getting that many subscribers in this short amount of time is pretty incredible. So keep on doing the great work. And I want to encourage everyone. Listen, I'm going to be on her show sometime later on in March because, hey, folks, I need to turn my brain off and not talk about politics because I need my fair share of things to enjoy. All right. Because I'm always in the books and reading articles and watching videos and it gets overwhelming. But
well, and we're also going to have a special birthday celebration for Kurt. We're going to do it the weekend before his birthday. Is March 28th is his birthday. And we're going to, I'm going to drop the episode with Kit and maybe Angel, maybe Grassfire. I'm going to have a lot of people on because, you know, he was the greatest athlete, in my opinion, greatest wrestler to ever live. But I just want to say real quick before we go, there's going to be a new show that I'm going to be a part of. I'm going to be hosting a show called Black Magic Talk. And it's going to be all Wiccan, all pagan. I'm going to do this. My co-host is Grassfire, the gentleman who's coming on my show on Saturday. So I'm really excited for this. We're going to talk everything Wiccan, pagan. And again, you know, if you don't like it, you don't have to subscribe. But if you would at least, you know, check it out.
Check it out.
It is something we do. And like I said, I try not to promote my religion. I try not to talk about it because there are people out there who will say, oh, you're evil, you're the devil. Honey, I don't believe in the devil, okay? There is no devil in Wicca or pagan. So keep your devil to yourself. I got more than enough, you know, with humans being evil to each other. So,
well, yes.
So we're going to start that March 4th. So March 4th, we're going to record our first episode of Black Magic Talk. And on our Rumble page, we do have a Black Magic Rumble page. There will be, I'm going to do some compilation photos, and we're going to have, you know, witchy woman. We're going to have devil woman, Grassfire. Just, you know, this woman is a devil. So we're just going to kind of have fun with it. We're just going to have fun and talk about, you know, Wiccan and pagan topics, everything about it.
Done deal. All right. Well, I'm very glad to have you on the show. I'm looking forward to being on your show again in March. Everyone, please be sure to follow Miss Witchy Perfect. I'm going to post all our links in the comment section and the show notes when this video is clipped. To our Can TV audience, we are ending this interview here and continuing on to our main show. Folks, we got a lot more to talk about. Hang on, folks. We're going to be in for a bumpy ride. It's going to be fun, though. I assure you. Start your morning right and righteously angry as Hard Lens Media.
At least you got to laugh.
Oh, yes, you do. Absolutely. All right. We'll see you guys very soon. Just a short break.
Love you all.
Our society and our world are full of these invented and built up and contrived facades. And sometimes some people come along with a hammer and smash that facade. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer to smash that facade. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer to smash that facade.
Welcome to the future. Shit where you please. The Wi-Fi's killer, but there's no more bees. So there's hardly any flowers, there are very few trees, and you'll pay $1,000 for some honey for your tea. But we got these awesome collars, mine's an Apple Model 3. It allows for better movement than the Tesla X Elite. It lets you customize the ads that it implants in every dream. And for premium subscribers, doesn't shock you in your sleep. But it doesn't stop there. It can analyze your speech, and if it hears disinformation, then it notifies police. It's a swift re-education, but it knocks you off your feet like your booster every 7th week. I faced the future boldly with 2 eager open eyes, and I picked a couple nuggets up that blew my fucking mind. Like you can taxidermy someone while they're technically alive, and they'll shine when it's election time. See, the Democratic voter base will pay them zero. Never mind if voting for the scarecrow is a vote along their party lines. They could stare into its marble eyes and claim there's something dignified. Unlike real politicians, this one doesn't need an oxygen or kit supply. But its function is the same as those who came before. The goals are never misaligned. It still spends all its working time performing pre-recorded fleecing sessions where it sugarcoats your slow and hungry genocide, while pouring billions into Nazi coffers, all the while selling you the story that we're moments till the MiGs arrive. So fuck it, ask Zelensky if he'll help replace our leaded pipes. Watch a fleet of Penske's show stacks of bills in every size. Guess it only took a black sun and a couple Hiles. Honorary goose step and some Nazi boots a quarter mile, all while Biden sneers his sordid smile. I don't know what was in this morning's vial, but it makes him stare 1,000 yards through all the prompters and the cards like he can smell the nearest child. His eyes are wide and wild, wider than the grave in which another 1,000 families were tossed in as I typed until they rose up to the sky unceremoniously piled. Which sort of flies right in the face of all this network ticker tape where the American economy has superhuman vitals.
And sometimes some people come along with a hammer.
See, I like to think my trial's gonna play like a recital. I'll denounce the world around me and accuse the most entitled, who weaponize their titles, whose pull is something title, who'd starve us all to death to best delight their blighted idol. So they might destroy the record, and I will never get to vinyl. So my word is not immortal, but it's final.
It's a brilliant, powerful hammer. It's a brilliant, powerful hammer to smash that facade.